Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the engineering webinar hosted by DIFC and UCC. My name is Ray Halpin. I'm the Education Recruitment Manager for DIFC in Ireland. I'm joined today by our Digital Marketing Manager, Nerily Duffy, and then some colleagues from UCC. So we have Dr. Elena Salaporta from the Engineering Department in UCC, and we also have Nasa O'Connor from the Academy in UCC, who will be speaking shortly after me. So just if you can keep your microphone on mute, just in case there's any background noise. And if you've got any questions, it's probably easier to use the chat feature, which is the little bubble on the top right-hand side of the screen. And we will answer all of the questions that are coming through as we go along. If you've got any other questions, we can answer them afterwards, or you can speak to us individually if you prefer. So I'm going to share my screen with you now. And I'm just going to give you a very brief introduction to Ireland and to DIFC, and then I'm going to ask my colleagues from UCC to take over. So first of all, Ireland, a very well-known place around the world for some many reasons, and some simple reasons are on the screen here right now, which is Guinness, which is our national drink and known all over the world. Top right, you can see St. Patrick's Day Parade, which is our national day each year. It's held on the 17th of March. Middle left, you have Kildare Village, which is very popular with students and also with visitors to our country for shopping. Middle right is the Cliffs of Moher, which is one of the most famous landmarks in Ireland and a must-see. And then bottom left is Skellig Michael, which was made very famous by Luke Skywalker, as that's where he was hiding in the Star Wars films. And bottom right is Giant's Causeway. Giant's Causeway is known for many reasons, some historical, some mythical, and not least because it's been used quite extensively in filming of Game of Thrones for the last number of years as well. So really, as you can see, Ireland, a small European country on the western side of Europe. We're close to the UK, maybe 1 hour from London or Manchester or Glasgow by flight, but we're a completely independent country. We're the only English-speaking country in the Eurozone now, after the UK decided to leave. As you can see in kind of middle right of the country, the east coast is Dublin, which is the capital. But today you'll be mostly hearing about Cork, which is in the south of the country. It's the second largest city in Ireland, and I'm sure the UCC colleagues will tell you it's the real capital of Ireland. So some simple reasons why students choose to study in Ireland. We've got a very well-respected education system. We're known as being the land of saints and scholars. And compared to many other English-speaking countries, such as the USA, UK, Australia, we're known for being exceptionally good value for money in terms of studying overseas. We have students from over 161 countries, and after you complete your undergraduate degree, you can stay for 1 year. And after you complete your postgraduate degree, master's or PhD, you can stay in Ireland for 2 years. We're known as being a very safe country, which is very important to people. And the biggest reason is our connectivity to leading global companies. You'll probably hear a little bit more about this from UCC, but companies like Google, Facebook, Pfizer, Twitter, Oracle, LinkedIn, PayPal, Hewlett-Packard, Intel, and these big global companies choose to have European headquarters in Ireland. So there's a very good job opportunities. And before the current situation we found ourselves in with COVID-19, for the previous 5 years, Ireland was the fastest growing economy in Europe. So you've got a very good chance of getting a job after you complete your studies here. Student life in Ireland. Yes, students are expected to work hard to get their grades, but life is all about balance, and studying is no different. So we encourage our students to join clubs, societies, and different kind of activities that they would look to do. We do a lot of social events with our students on a regular basis. We take them on campus visits, such as UCC, so they can see what they will be getting when they get to university. And we encourage students to travel around Ireland and see some of the famous landmarks I've shown you. Another big thing about Ireland is the exceptional pastoral care And this was really magnified at the start of the pandemic that we're currently finding ourselves in, where Ireland was voted the #1 country worldwide in terms of student care. So it means that we put our students first, foremost above everything else. So then, who are DIFC? So we're the largest independent foundation college in Ireland. We delivering the programme which is accredited by NCUK. So they're a group of universities in the UK. And we're offering pathways really all over the world. But today we're specifically talking about engineering pathways to UCC. And we work very, very closely with UCC. We have students out from over 30 different countries studying at DIFC. So there's really a diverse nationality mix as well. So at this stage, I'm going to pass over to Dr. Elena Salaporta, who I'm going to let her share her screen with you, and I will talk to you a little bit further later on.
Thank you, Ray. Good morning, everyone.
Oh, sorry.
NASA.
I need to make NASA.
Yeah, NASA's going to share my screen. So my name is Dr. Elena Salaporta, and I am a lecturer in the School of Engineering. More specifically, I am a lecturer in the discipline of process and chemical engineering, and I'm going to talk about the structure of the School of Engineering as my presentation is going to be developed. So I'm going to start with talking about UCC. So NASA, if you could go to the following slide. UCC is the biggest university in Cork. It has a very good reputation, not only in Ireland, but across Europe, because it was ranked in the 50 top universities in Europe. I would also like to add that it was voted the best university in Ireland twice in year 2016 and 2017. It has a very big tradition in research, and it has very, very strong links with industries, because Cork, I would like to tell you, has a very, very big industry development. So industries like Eli Lilly, Pfizer, Intel, and the list is endless. I'm going to talk about those later on, are located here in Cork. So the job opportunities for you are really very, very big, and you can very easily change your careers and choose whatever you like to do. So why to study at University College Cork? It was ranked in the top 2% of research-led universities globally. It is powered by leaders. So we have staff that is very highly motivated, very well recognized worldwide. And we also have excellent teaching and research facilities, high graduate employment, like I have already mentioned. And I would like to add that we have new bespoke accommodation that is being either it's already prepared by now, or it's going to be ready in the following year. We also have first and second year stay back visa, which is really important for global students. The next slide, please, NASA. Thank you. So now I would like to convince you why to study engineering in a way. I'm going to start by saying that unconsciously we have all developed our engineering skills since we were kids. We were all playing with bricks and blocks, and as a matter of fact, this is the first engineering experience that we all had in our lives. So when after starting walking and talking, we naturally started playing with blocks and bricks. So we are all natural engineers. This is something that is really important, because it's something that it comes naturally from inside of us. So we can all design, we can all build, we can all of us, we can modify what we did. This is engineering, really. Engineering is designing, building or creating and then modifying and finalizing. It is a creative work direction. The opportunities are endless, and there is a lot of satisfaction at the end when we all see what we have thought about, what we have created being developed. If we could go to the next slide, NASA, please. Yeah, that was, yeah, thank you. So, in the School of Engineering of UCC, we have 4 degree programs. These are the 4 undergraduate programs that we offer. The first one is Process and Chemical Engineering, which is where I am lecturing. The Electrical and Electronic Engineering, Energy Engineering, and Civil and Environmental Engineering. We also have Mechanical Engineering, which is mainly for postgraduate studies, so Masters and PhD. And we also offer different other Masters opportunities, such as Bioprocess Engineering. So, mainly, what I would like to mention to you now is that there is quotas. So, basically, you are not choosing what you're going to study prior to at the end of the first common year. The first year of the 4 bachelor studies or 5-year master studies is a common. And then at the end of the first year, based on your preferences and on your grades, you will be able to decide whether you would like to choose process, electrical, energy, or civil engineering. There is quotas, so there is a maximum number of 40 students to each discipline. The most wanted discipline right now is the process and chemical engineering. And this is because of the strong pharma background of the industries in Cork. But of course, energy, electrical, and civil are equally interesting, and they equally have opportunities. The next slide, please, NASA. Thank you. So, as you can see in your screen, there is some of the companies that are based here in Cork, and this is some of the paths that you could follow if you're going to study engineering. The main studies for the bachelor's is 4 years, and we have the 5th year of the master's. All of our programs are accredited, so they are being recognized internationally, no matter if you're going to stay in Ireland, or if you're going to go to the States, or if you're going to go to the UK, in Australia, in Europe, wherever you choose to go, your degree is going to be recognized because your degree will be accredited. Another plus is that you will be doing work placement. So you will be gaining work experience, but you will also be paid when you will be developing that work placement experience. Next slide, please. Thank you. Like I have already mentioned, UCC has a very big tradition in research, and we are very lucky to have the ERI, the Environmental Research Institute, which is the first picture at your right-hand side. We also have the MARI, the Center for Marine and Renewable Energy, and of course, Tyndall National Institute. These are research centers that are linked and affiliated with UCC, and our mainly postgraduate students, either masters or PhD students, are working on those excellent facilities, very modern, with amazing equipment, which makes our research so popular worldwide. Thank you. Thanks, NASA. So, what I would like to stress out now is that a few more reasons why to study engineering. Engineers not only create things, but they also lead. And this is something that it's not just me, this is not just my opinion. As you can see now, the quotes from Forbes magazine. Engineers are detail-oriented, analytical, and trained in systematic problem solving. And the Business Insider, the 33% of CEOs are from engineering, and only 11% are from business and administration. Moreover, engineering, they have, if you could go back, NASA, in the previous slide. Thank you. I would like to stress out that the first salary of our bachelor students is around 36,000 per year, which is a very well-paid job compared to other jobs. I would like to mention that Mary Barra from General Motors, she's the CEO of General Motors. Jeff Bezos, he's an engineer and he's the CEO of Amazon. So if you really want to become leaders, engineering will help you to get there. Next slide, please. That's actually the last slide. The next one is the last slide of my presentation. I would like to close my presentation by thanking you. And I would like to say that no matter what you're going to do in your life, studying engineering is going to help you to achieve that. You don't necessarily need to work as an engineer afterwards, because life leads us really. But you will have developed so many skills that are going to help you to achieve what you want. Thank you. And now NASA is going to talk, NASA from UCC Academy is going to talk to you.
Thanks, Aline, and thanks very much. So I suppose I want to follow on a couple of key points that have been brought up by both Ray and Alina. I'm just to introduce myself. I'm the College of Science, Engineering and Food Science International Student Manager. So I suppose one of the really key points about our college, and specifically to engineering careers, is just the amount of industry engagement, the amount of multinational companies based in Ireland, and a lot of them have their European headquarters, as Ray has mentioned. So 8 of the top 10 pharmaceutical companies in Ireland, 5 of the security software companies, the top 4 food companies, 10 of the top 10 global technology companies. So Ireland is a real industry hub. It's known as the kind of gateway to Europe, with it based on its location and also its industry engagement. So just wanted to give you an overview of the full industry engagement that's happening in Ireland. So I suppose just from a UCC perspective, it has been brought up by both Elena a number of times. Engineering is a fascinating study option for you. I suppose from my perspective, I worked in recruitment for many years, recruiting for multinational companies, and I really understand how sought after graduates are of this program. So I suppose what's really interesting is that engineering skills are transferable from one industry to the other. So let's say, for example, there's obviously the main engineering companies, so PM Group and Jacobs and Dornan Engineering, and they are engineering consultancies that feed a wide range of industries. So there's a lot of engineers that also go into the kind of pharma and biopharmaceutical companies. So let's say, for example, in Cork, we have Dupuy, their headquarters are down here, Janssen, Lilly, GSK, Pfizer. So then there's also the marine and energy and the food. So it's just important when you're thinking about engineering as an option, is that you can go into engineering, and obviously as after your first broad year, you will specialize, as Alina kind of pointed out, and go into your different areas. But whatever route you're in, you can kind of feed into so many industries. And again, you're developing so many transferable skills: critical thinking, problem solving, and you're analytical, you're creative. That's the kind of graduate, and all well-rounded graduate, that is going to be of benefit no matter what route you take. And that's what's really exciting about engineering, is that obviously from what Alina said, you're feeding into a kind of leadership position, but you're also straight away opening up options where I suppose you can just go into so many different industries depending on what you enjoy and what you're studying in UCC. So I just wanted to focus and give you a little bit more overview of life sciences and engineering in Cork itself. I suppose, you know, particularly in Ireland, we have a huge life science hub that's based here. And when I mean life science, I mean the pharmaceutical, biopharmaceutical, and medical devices industry. Okay, so I suppose 9 of the top 20 global of these companies are based in Ireland. Okay, within Cork and the Southwest region account for 50% of these. So within 15 minutes drive, there's in 2 different directions, there's 2 major industry hubs called Little Island and Ringaskiddy, where a huge amount of these life science companies are based. Okay, and because there's so many because of the placement options available within the engineering degrees in UCC, a lot of our graduates and students get to experience placements with some of these companies before they're even fully graduated, which is great to be walking away with hands-on work experience as you're finishing your degree. So I suppose additionally as well, the food and FMCG headquarters are also based in the Southwest. So we have Glanbia, there's Kerry, there's Dairygold, there's huge kind of industry in the food, FMCG and manufacturing industries as well. I suppose the life science and engineering sector in Ireland, really there's just so many jobs in it. And what I find really fascinating about it is that within engineering, because of how many, I suppose, disciplines are within engineering, there's so many routes you can take even within one industry. So if you think of a simple product, as I suppose Alina was talking about, it's building, it's designing, it's modifying, and it's finalizing. So if you think of a small medical device, which is going to be inserted, let's say, a knee implant or a hip implant. So you have someone at the very start who is researching and designing it, working in new product development and new product introduction. And then you have someone who's coming in as a quality engineer and qualifying it and making sure it's up to scratch with the regulations from the EU and the US. Then you have someone who comes in and manufactures the engineer. You could have a process and chemical engineer working alongside the manufacturing engineer. You could also have a project engineer leading the project. And then you have, you know, the project engineers who are carrying the project right the way through. So I suppose what I'm trying to do is just to give you an idea that not only have you so much scope with what industry you move into, and obviously life sciences and engineering is booming in Cork, but also within that industry, depending on what area you like, there is so many options for you. Again, just touching on it again, the wide range of career routes. I suppose as I worked in recruitment for years, I know how sought after. Now, as Alina says, a lot of the starting salaries are 36, but there's for certain, you know, high caliber candidates with graduates of UCC, they could be leaving college and getting 45,000, 50,000. They could be getting a 9-month contract with a 9-month contract or a permanent position with a multinational company who is moving them along the way and putting huge amounts of time into their high caliber graduates to keep them in the company and keep them growing. So again, I suppose I've said it, but I think it's a really important take-home point. There's obviously the quality engineer. You could be a process engineer, working as a project engineer, managing projects from kind of cradle to grave, seeing the project fully through. Could be working in new product introduction, research and development. There's obviously then the CSV, which is more systems engineers, moving to that side, an automation engineer, which have been working more with equipment and automating manufacturing lines. So I suppose I'm trying to just give you an idea of how endless the options are, but also a really important point that Alina brought up is that not only are you, because you're an engineer, it doesn't mean you have to stay in engineering. Because of the core, I suppose, personal and communication skills and technical skills that you develop in your degree with UCC, you're really sought after in so many spectrums. For example, my friend, she graduated as a civil engineer with UCC, and she's now working as a software project manager in a leading consultancy here in Cork. where she works on a range of different coding projects for, I suppose, a lot of energy companies. So really, just because you graduate with this degree, it doesn't mean you're in any way pigeonholed. You're not pigeonholed in your industry. You're not pigeonholed with your job title, and you're not pigeonholed to stay in direct engineering. Again, I want to touch on now, Alina brought it up a number of times, but UCC is incredibly proud to be a research leader. Obviously, there's the research centres that Alina has brought up, so the MRI, and it would be my advice to go and check out some of these research centres. It's extremely cutting edge and innovative research that's happening in these research centres, and the facilities and equipment that they're using it's pretty cool, to be honest. In your first year, you'll get an opportunity to go out to the MRI where there's these wave tanks, and I'll follow up with a video all about this to Ray, and he can pass on to the participants. But it's really amazing equipment and cutting edge equipment, which is recognised across the EU as cutting edge. So I suppose there's a huge amount of collaborations with a range of organisations in our research across 130 countries. And obviously, you know, there's a huge amount of research income that's being generated. And obviously, we're classed in the EU as incredibly innovative as well. And I suppose just to lead on to kind of my second last slide, it's really just, you know, I know this is further down the line, but a lot of people are really fascinated by research and getting into that field. And if you have I suppose the core skills that we look for in engineers, which is being creative, problem solver, you're analytical, and you have that kind of, you know, kind of technical know-how. A lot of people come up with great ideas who are kind of studying in UCC and studying engineering. And what's really great about UCC is they have a lot of spin-out companies, and we have an Ignite company, which helps, I suppose, students and graduates get their ideas off the ground and establish their own companies. If it's something that, you know, we back as groundbreaking, we back that has the ability to be a standalone company. So I suppose what I'm trying to say is, yes, there's a lot of research happening. It's a huge amount of research happening across UCC. It's cross-collaboration research, which is very exciting because you have engineers working with scientists, working with food scientists, and also working across the board in the College of Arts and Celtic Studies, and also with the business and law school. So people are collaborating to bring the most innovative, effective research to the fore. And what they're doing then is they're solving social and economic problems that the country and the EU is facing. So the research is innovative, it is to the fore, but also obviously I've mentioned the commercialization piece. So obviously there's patents being filed and there's spin-out companies being established, and a huge amount of, I suppose, it's gathering momentum with EU funding coming in time and time again to the university. So I just wanted to finish up, I suppose, with a brief slide on why study engineering, or why study, I suppose, you know, engineering in UCC or our STEM programs. Obviously, I think I've covered the employability and careers piece quite a bit. There's, you know, a huge amount of jobs, huge amount of industry thriving in Cork, even though there has been the pandemic. I was on another webinar yesterday with one of a recruitment expert, I suppose, from industry, and he just hasn't believed, I suppose, the pharmaceutical, because of the fight against the pandemic, has still remained to be booming. Huge amount of contract roles coming out. So that's really exciting to think that you could be qualifying and graduating as an engineer, and there's this whole world of jobs to go for, and that you're not pigeonholed in any way. It's depending on what you enjoy and where your gifts lie. The research, obviously, I feel that personally that's really exciting to see such cutting edge research happening, and it kind of feeds me into the next point. I suppose a lot of us, you know, climate change is a huge part of, I suppose, the society right now as a problem and something we're trying to solve. And UCC is, you know, incredibly, I suppose, innovative in the research against kind of climate change and the problems that we are facing, both in Ireland, the EU, and the world. So it's great that UCC is a green campus, and sustainability is very important to our university. So for someone in engineering and kind of someone who's really interested in the world around them, it's nice that the university will be sharing your ethos on this. Additionally, I suppose just the Life Science Centre of Excellence, UCC is so much industry engagement with Janssen, Johnson & Johnson, Eli Lilly, Dupuis. There's such interaction back and forth with their graduates. So the opportunities are endless there as well. Additionally, the STEM community, I feel like, you know, I suppose even from my experience, I am a graduate of the College of Science, Engineering and Food Science, and I just feel the support I got from staff, from the admin staff in different areas, and my peer support, and the opportunity to do kind of that cross collaboration research, and even, you know, I suppose how friendly the School of Engineering are and how open they are to kind of students and getting them excited about what, you know, what they can do and what they can achieve. It's a really great kind of community to be a part of. Again, as well as, I suppose, as an engineer, you're bound to kind of be interested in the practical ways of learning as well. Okay, so that's a real important kind of ethos to the College of Science, Engineering and Food Science, and the School of Engineering particularly, with the facilities and the equipment that's available, with the labs that are done, and with having that real broad first year so that every student gets the opportunity to really kind of get practical learning and what they enjoy and what they want to choose. So yeah, they're my main points. And obviously, just to finish up, I'd obviously like to say thank you very much for, I suppose, listening to me today. And I really appreciate the opportunity for talking and giving you, I suppose, an indication why I would like you to come to UCC. Ray, I'm just going to make you the presenter there. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Perfect. I know, just checking you're up next.
Okay. So thank you very much to NASA and also to Elena. Very informative in terms of the UCC piece. And I suppose the big question a lot of you will be asking now is, okay, how do I get there? You know, I suppose that one of the biggest points really to make you aware of to start with is that 98% of our students last year got either their first choice or their insurance choice in terms of university. And the overall statistic for the NCUK IFY program that DIFC provide is over 90% of our students get their first choice of university. So what that means simply is if you put in the work, you know, you get to go where you want to go. And we work very closely with UCC in terms of making sure that you have your conditional offer letter based on your grades. So, you know, we will help you every step of the way, but ultimately it's down to how well you do. We've helped over 1,000 students to progress to university in the last 10 years. Before that, we didn't really record the figures, so that number is significantly higher for the 21 years that DIFC has been operating. And as I mentioned earlier, you'll have a number of different nationalities studying at DIFC, so you will be sitting beside students from all over the world during your foundation year. So why should you study foundation? You know, some of you will be thinking, okay, maybe I can go directly to UCC. It could be a case that your English level isn't good enough or your academic level. So you might have to take a foundation course along the way. But there's much more to foundation than just that. So where you're studying high school in your own country, you're being taught to pass an exam. But at DIFC, we're teaching independent learning. So we're helping you to stand on your own 2 feet when you get to university. We're doing a lot of the personalized counseling and support in terms of helping you maybe improve your grades or, you know, accommodation or making friends or joining groups, you know, and we've got a guaranteed progression route with our foundation program as well. Some other simple reasons are simply the adjustment coming from your home country to getting used to weather, food, culture, you know, finding your classes, and really the struggle that you would face in the first few months of university is taken away by doing this. So what you'll study at DIFC, so you will study four main subjects. So for engineering, it will be English for academic purposes, so EAP. It's not just IELTS improvement, it's so much more than that. And all of our partners, including UCC, will accept your EAP grade after you complete at DIFC. So you don't have to take another IELTS test or TOEFL or PTE. You will also study physics, chemistry, and mathematics. And you will have, through your learning experience, theory lessons. You will also have practicals, and you'll have interactive class discussions and assignments. The final result isn't just based on your final exam. So as you can see there, the assessment, it's 70% examinations, but it's 30% coursework throughout the year as well. And we're doing things in terms of the independent learning that will help you, some softer skills, such as critical thinking, problem solving, time management, and probably one of the biggest things, which is presentations. So being able to stand in front of your colleagues and peers and to be able to deliver a presentation in English confidently. So DIFC is really more than a foundation program. We're actually more than a pathway. And again, when it comes to applying, this looks quite busy, and please don't worry about this. This is just really a step-by-step guide as to what we do. So in terms of helping you every step of the way to submit your application successfully to UCC, which we support, and we will help you to secure your offer as well. We will help you to prepare your personal statement. And we have a university fair every February at DIFC, which UCC always attend. And you'll be able to speak to them one-on-one. So a little bit like speed dating. You'll probably hear a presentation in the morning, and then in the afternoon, you can have a chance to speak to them specifically about your program. And when it comes to engineering, as you've seen from Elena, there's a range of different engineering programs that they have. So you might want to narrow down which one you're going to apply for. Normally then the applications start in March and we would get the conditional offer letters. But again, we're working with you every step of the way, so you really don't have to worry about this. It's just for information. So in terms of the entry requirements to get into DIFC, so you must have completed high school and your English level must be at least 5.0 IELTS overall or equivalent. So depending on what country you're coming from, there's a number of countries where the English test is a visa requirement, but they will accept other tests such as TOEFLs, PTE, and this year specifically, the Irish Immigration Service INIS will be accepting Duolingo as a valid entry test. And just to give you an idea of the equivalent level of that, so for our September start, you should have a score of 80, and for January start, you should have a score of 90. Ideally, but for some programs, we can still accept 80 at IFY. We're accepting all forms of high schools, as you can see on the screen. So, and we do have country-specific requirements, so we can speak to you about your local high school score if you want to make an inquiry, and we can advise you better once we know what your score is. So then specifically, just to cover a couple of points, given the situation we find ourselves in globally with COVID-19. So DIFC made the decision that we're going to start our semester one online. And we made that quite early, towards the end of March, beginning of April. Right now, that looks like a really sensible choice, because in some countries we're seeing a second wave, and in other countries where we would normally get students, the pandemic is still growing. So the number one thing for us is that students are safe. So we're not planning to bring our students in until January, and then they will complete semester two in class in DIFC, assuming everything's fine. We are also putting in some contingency plans currently, that if the situation hasn't sufficiently improved, that it doesn't affect your university placement, which is the number one priority for us, to make sure that you safely complete your foundation and you can progress to university, such as UCC in September 2021. Because of this, we're offering scholarships. So there's a €2,000 scholarship off our fees for completing semester one online, but you will save a lot more money than that in terms of cost of living expenses for the first semester, and also accommodation expenses too. For the English language test, as I mentioned, it's a visa requirement. and it is required. So you will have to take a form of test, but if you can't take IELTS or TOEFL or PTE, which are all approved, as I just mentioned, we can accept the Duolingo test, as a lot of universities are doing globally. And secondly, please don't worry if your high school exams have been cancelled, and this is really important because we're accepting predicted grades. So we would look at your Year 10, Year 11 results and your first semester of Year 12, and we will be able to make an assessment on those. You're better off contacting us individually about this because different country requirements require different advice, but we can give you the best advice that we have available for you, which is one of the things that DIFC is really proud of, is our personal touch and making sure each student is treated purely as an individual. So then our fees, as I mentioned, these are the full fees shown here on the screen, and there is a €2,000 scholarship for September start. And then we also have a January start each year, which will be a fully in-class experience this year, as proposed currently. Just to finalise on the whole COVID-19 pandemic situation, right now the advice is non-essential travel should be avoided, and we will continue to follow the advice of the World Health Organization, plus our own government and health officials as well. And you should also follow your own advice from your own country in terms of travel and restrictions as well. But again, we will discuss all of these things with you. Another really good thing about starting online in September is we've got an agreement from the Immigration Department in Ireland that all of our visa applications will be processed without delay, and they will be post-dated to the 1st of December. So that means if you apply now and you pay your fees and you submit your visa application, you can have all of that approved in advance of coming, and it takes away some of the stress that parents and students have to go through worrying about visa approval and short time frames. Again, we will help you every step of the way with the visa application also. So how to apply? So simply the step-by-step guide here. You can submit your application online and you simply list UCC as your first preference. Then the second step is you would receive your conditional offer letter and invoice from DIFC, which you would then confirm your place with payment of fees and the signed acceptance place form. Then, as I just mentioned, we will help you with your visa application should you require one to travel to Ireland. And from there, you would start to look at booking your flights and accommodation. Because we're not bringing students in until January, we've quite a bit of time to make sure this is all done correctly and effectively. And then step 6 is starting your studies with DIFC. So our proposed start date this year is the 14th of September for our September intake and the 4th of January for our January 2021 intake. So in terms of finding out more, as you can see, you can contact us through info@difc.ie, or you can see here on the screen where you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and we can help you to progress your application or answer any questions that you have from there. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up to any questions. I'd like to say thank you again to Elena and NASA for taking part this morning. And if you've any questions, you can either ask them in the chat box on the top right of the screen, or you can at this stage unmute yourself and ask any of us a question and the appropriate person will answer. Thank you very much. I'll give it another couple of minutes just in case people are typing questions. But again, if you have any questions and you prefer to ask them directly, you can come off mute and we can help you. And also, please don't worry if you've missed anything or we went over something a little bit too fast. We've recorded this whole session, so we'll be able to send you on the video. And I think NASA mentioned earlier that she has some follow-up videos that might be of interest. So we can send those on to students after the presentation. And you can always come back and ask us any individual questions then, if you prefer. Okay, it doesn't look like there are any questions coming through at this stage. So I would just like to say finally a big thank you again to Dr. Elena Salaporta from the Engineering Department of UCC, and also big thanks to NASA from the Academy in UCC. Appreciate all of your time and attendance this morning. And as I say, if we can help anybody to create a pathway to UCC for engineering, we'd be more than happy to try and help you to do that. So thanks again for this morning, and stay safe, everybody. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.